And now, let's welcome our first presenter to the panel, Molly Crabapple.
Hey everyone, thank you for waking up at the obscene hour of 9 a.m., something I haven't seen in many years thanks to my life as a wastrel artist. And thank you so much to RISD for having me here. Thank you to my dear friend Marissa Katz, who has been such an inspiration as I have written and thought about AI. Thank you to the Department of Illustration, and thank you to Eric and Brian, my co-panelists. This is my hand, and this should set the tone for what I'm gonna say. I am an illustrator. I draw with my own hands, with paint and paper on a ratty old desk like that. And I love it. For the last 20 years, I've been able to claw out a living in this somewhat blue-collar adjacent, illegitimate sister of the fine art industry. It's everything I've dreamed of. It's something that's taken me all around the world. I've gotten to do everything from massive paintings about the financial crisis and bank skullduggery to pictures of my really hot friends from the burlesque scene sitting in my great-grandmother's chair. I have been able to use my pen as an excuse to sneak onto construction sites in Abu Dhabi, where South Asian workers were being paid $200 a month to build the great museums of the future. In 2015, I was able to go to Gaza, where I saw people of the most profound resilience, literally taking the twisted rebar from a hospital that had been bombed by the Israelis and straightening it by hand to rebuild again. May they rebuild again. I covered protests in my hometown of New York City, including this protest to the left, which is one that is also a profoundly Luddite protest. It was led by taxi drivers who saw themselves being driven so deeply in debt by our corrupt medallion system and also by Uber and rideshare apps that they went on a hunger strike to the death if they didn't get debt relief. They got debt relief. I also went to my father's island, Puerto Rico, in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, and I drew people collecting water from the sides of mountains because they had been abandoned by both the corrupt local and federal governments. Now, I'm showing you this art because I want to show you that what I do, the risks I've taken to do it, but above all, I want to show you that it's made of people and it's made for people. It's made for humans, one human to another. My hands, humans' eyes. What it is not made for, it is not made to provide grist for a corporate image generator bot so that hedge fund boys can waste or make billions of dollars. And yet, that's just what my art ended up being used for, and the art of millions upon millions of artists like me. This is the Laan 5B database, which is the database that is used for training stability AI, Stable Diffusion. It is a database made by a German, alleged nonprofit funded by tech billionaires that scooped up basically the entirety of human creativity, posted online, all of our illustrations, all of our photos, pictures of your mom's birthday when she was 5 that you uploaded, everything. Took it all, made it into a massive data set, and then handed it over to the same finance bro-funded tech companies that were giving it its money so that they could use it to train their products. I'm going to show you an example of how that works. This is a drawing I did of the skyline of Aleppo. It's in the book of mine that they're selling outside, which I'm just going to shill right now, Brothers of the Gun. It's a hard life, man, being an artist. And it's something I did in collaboration with a Syrian war journalist, something I spent a lot of time on. Human hands. This is the crappy ersatz version that Dolly puts out. after it suctioned up my work. That last one, by the way, was from a year ago. Dream Studio, powered by Stability AI. This is how work is literally used, like our lifeblood as artists is literally used to make knockoff products whose purpose is to kick us out of jobs and impoverish us. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the profound contempt that these tech companies have for the artists whose work they use as raw materials. These are tweets by Ahmad Mostaq, the recently fired CEO of Stability AI, in which he compares blue-collar illustrators who don't want their work stolen to aristocrats who do not want the poor to read. These image generators are not made for artists. They are made to de-skill, disempower, and impoverish artists. And this attitude is evident in every single public statement of any honesty by the people who own these multi-billion-dollar companies. We live in a time when tech is run on a profoundly anti-human ethos. The goal of it is to take every single interaction that we have, whether it's with the cashier, whether it's with our friends, whether it is with our own creativity, and stick these corporations as a mediating thing. The friction that corporations in the tech industry talk about eliminating, that friction is called humans. It is called you and me. To give you an example of the anti-human ethos that I would talk about, I look at the Amazon pick up and go stores where you're supposed to just, pick up something and leave, right? Oh, so convenient, you don't need a cashier. These stores were only powered by thousands of workers in India who were monitoring people. Now, why would you spend $1 bajillion on both having all of the cameras and sensors and also the thousands of workers in India so that you don't have to have one cashier here? The reason that you do that is you want to break up the power of labor and the human interactions that people have with cashiers to make labor ultimately replaceable, disposable, de-skilled. That is the ethos behind everything that Silicon Valley is doing, including image generators. It also makes really bad art. Marissa talked about an initiative that we did, which was an open letter to restrict the use of AI-generated images in newsrooms. Some newsrooms are already using them. Al Jazeera right now, instead of hiring Palestinian artists to document their own history, is using Midjourney to churn out the world's worst comics. But when we did this letter, the inspiration was that we were at the Perugia Journalism Festival, where all of these people who were literally paid by Google were getting on stage, and they were saying, this is inevitable. Just, you gotta jump on the bandwagon or else you'll be left behind. And anyone who opposes the generators, anyone who opposes having their entire creativity suctioned up and sold back to them as a product by people who hold them in contempt, those people, they're just stupid and they don't get it. They're just like a, buggy driver, right? They're just a Luddite. And Brian will talk about how silly that charge is later. But what I wanted to say was that nothing is inevitable. Everything with tech does not come from some arc of history. Nothing comes from some divine hand. Nothing comes from some arc of history. Technology is controlled by people, politics, money, and power. And if we don't have money or power, at least we goddamn have people. And we have the ability to resist it. We do not have to submit to having every moment of our lives colonized by corporations. We do not have to submit to a regime that's about tearing us from each other, that treats humans as friction, that treats labor as something to weaken and destroy. We do not have to do that. We do not have to buy their products. Generative AI is vampirical, feasting on past generations of artwork, even as it sucks the lifeblood from living artists. I end my presentation with the statement, very simple. There is no ethical way to use any of the big image generators. There isn't. These are generators that are powered on human stolen labor, that are impoverishing illustrators right now and making it so that illustrators will not have a future if they're allowed to go unchecked. And they're doing it by consuming the water that we have, by consuming electricity, by consuming rare earth that's mined by enslaved children in Africa. We are feeding the planet into these generators so that companies do not have to pay for advertising and so that incels can press a button to make big-titted anime girls. So, fuck AI art.